This is Arizona Forum, a weekly conversation focusing on the issues affecting the Grand Canyon State. Now your host, State Representative Jay Lawrence.
Good evening. Welcome. Thank you so much for letting us once again be part of your evening. I am promising you a great show tonight. In this first segment, we're going to visit with Maricopa County Chairman of the Maricopa County Board of Supervisors, Steve Chucri. In the next section, we will visit with Maricopa County Sheriff Joe Arpaio. Mr. Chucri, welcome. Thanks for taking the time.
Great to be with you, Jay, and thank you for having me tonight.
You know, if I can just live up to the promises I have made as a representative, as you have lived up to the promises you made running for office, I will be a very proud person. You have absolutely made promises to people and lived up to them, and that's all anyone can expect from any officer.
Well, you're very kind, but I can tell you you're far ahead of me in that realm. But I'll take the nice compliment anyway. But you've done nothing but great work at the legislature, and
you know, we have stations all over the state, and in fact, Mojave, Cochise, Yavapai, in addition to our own county. How do you in any way relate to those other county supervisors? Do you in any way?
We do through CSA, which is Republican, Democrat alike, all supervisors throughout the state, all 15 counties. And we share our respective problems, and we try to problem solve, and especially when it comes to working with you and your colleagues at the legislature to make sure that all of us are working the best way and the most collaborative way we can. So it's been a good experience, and I'm proud of all the work that CSA does.
I know that you are running for office again. In fact, I have endorsed you. How come I see my picture with you? You look so good, and I look like you're a
I don't think that's the case.
You're a handsome guy.
I don't think that's the case, Jay. Yeah, I don't think that's the case. But I'm certainly honored to have your endorsement. And as you know, I've endorsed you because of all the good work you've done the past 2 years at the legislature.
For those of you that don't know a little bit of the history of Mr. Chucri, he was born and raised in Mesa. You go beyond that. You've got a long Arizona history.
I do. Actually, my grandfather was born here in Morenci, Arizona, a mining town, a year before statehood, and went back. His family took him back to Lebanon, where his siblings and parents were from, and then as a young boy, literally just about 10 to 12 years old, he came back here through Mexico with his father, and since he was a U.S. citizen, he was able to come in. But my grandfather's father was not, and so they turned him back, and he had to go back to Beirut. And my grandfather stayed here and sold dry goods in Morenci, Arizona, as a young boy to make money for the family and send it back to him. So it's a great story.
You know what's interesting? I'm going to digress briefly. I want to talk about what you've accomplished as a county supervisor. But first, I want to look at your thoughts on what's going on in America right now. We are in the midst of an uprising of sorts. What are your thoughts on all that's going on between the shooting and killing of 5 police officers in Dallas, the police officers who shot and killed individuals that seemingly were not doing anything that would require the death penalty? Your general thoughts on America today?
Well, I think it's interesting you asked this question. I was just chatting about this actually with my wife over the weekend when we saw what happened in Dallas, and when you saw the president's remarks about where we are as a country. And in some ways, I don't think President Obama truly understands or appreciates how divided we are. In his remarks just yesterday in a press conference, he had mentioned that he doesn't believe we're as divided as some think. And to me, political or not, I've never seen our country so divided and what seems to be so disconnected. And that troubles me, and it troubles me for many, many reasons. But to the lengths that we've gone, even the protest here in Phoenix just a few nights ago, what truly is dividing us is what I think we need to get to the root of. In addition to that, I think we need to look for what kind of common bonds we can all share, and we could all trumpet and wrap our arms around instead of what you're seeing with the senseless killing and the mental health issues too of our country, Jay, are very scary, and that's something we're working on in Maricopa County that I'm happy to share with you to make sure that we're getting people the treatment they need. But I think that's only one small part of what we're seeing in the divided United States that we have today.
Actually, I am worried about the Republican convention. I'm not going. I don't know. Are you going to the convention?
No, I'm not going.
Wise move for both of us, I think. I know Sheriff Arpaio is, and I'll talk to him in the next segment of the show. But I actually worry about the Republican convention and about the people that could begin very violent demonstrations at that convention. I know that Cleveland police feel much the same way and are preparing for a convention that could be violent. And do you have any of those fears?
I share your fears 100%, and how you try to make sure that people can live their lives and protest and do what they want as the Constitution allows, but more importantly, how you can keep it safe and do so to where you're protecting the citizens and the police. And that's very concerning. And I don't think you're talking about it either. Of course, the fear is there about some kind of terrorist act or whatnot. But I think what you and I are talking about is just the pure passion and tension that we see today, and how that could play out at the convention, even within our own party, or those protesters who may not like the nominee, and quite frankly, those who do. I think this is something we've never seen before, and it certainly is something that I hope everyone is preparing to address, especially the police departments that are within the jurisdiction there.
We're speaking with Chairman of the Maricopa County Board of Supervisors, Steve Chucri, and I know that it is outside the realm of both of our purviews, but I still believe that many of the demonstrations are being orchestrated by outside influences, by those that are part of terrorist groups. Is that even within the realm of possibility?
Well, you wonder. I think that the sophistication and the abilities that these terrorist organizations have to put a threat into the simple daily lives of Americans is very, very troubling and worrisome. And is there a connection? It very well could be. I think we certainly saw that in Orlando. Whether Dallas or not plays out to have some kind of connection to ISIS or some other terrorist group, I don't know. But when you take the daily actions of Americans and somehow jostle them about with terrorist activity, that puts fear into everyone's lives, and we all know that's one of the root causes and goals of these terrorist groups is to put fear in everyone's lives. And we've always risen above as a country, and I think we will continue to do so. But at the same time, I think it makes it very difficult for the intelligence community of the United States as well as law enforcement to really address it the best way they can and to keep it under control.
I want you to hear some of the things that make Steve Chucri a great supervisor straight ahead. Jay Lawrence, so glad you're here with us this evening. Our guest is Chairman of the Maricopa County Board of Supervisors, Steve Chucri, and you have brought a business concept to political state government, Steve. You've really made a lot of changes in county government, and they're good changes.
Well, it's been exciting, to say the least. And Jay, as chairman, which my role just ended just a few months back, so now it's Clint Hickman. But you're right on the mark, because as chairman, I was able to introduce personnel reform last year with the help of you and your colleagues, and of course my fellow colleagues on the Board of Supervisors. You know, it's amazing. You couldn't hire or fire people in Maricopa County. You had to interview 50+1% of all applicants. You had to go through a 15-point process to terminate someone. And so, to your earlier comment about bringing a business mindset to government, that's not bringing a business mindset to government. So we went to the legislature. We asked you and your colleagues to support us and give us the authorization as a county to change that policy. The governor certainly agreed and signed it into law. And this past year, we've now can hire at will. We can fire at will. We're saving money in the process. And now that we're able to take 90% of our workforce was merit protected. That means it would be very difficult to terminate someone because of this classification they were under. And now we're taking about 90% of those people who are merit protected, and we're going to try and cull that back to about 35%. And I think we're down to 80% right now, just in a short period of time. So we're going to keep working on those types of things, and making sure that the checkbook we use is no different than the one that your listeners and taxpayers use themselves in their top right-hand drawer at home.
You know, you've also enhanced the customer service experience. The person who wants to contact you, for example, or anyone at the county supervisor level, there is a communication that didn't exist before, plus a communication between departments that didn't necessarily exist. That's
correct. And we just, everyone was operating in silos, and now we've broken down those barriers, not only within Maricopa County, but I learned that some of my predecessors weren't even on a regular basis talking to the city mayors that they represent and council members. And as you know, that's critically important. And so at least a handful of times each year, we're meeting. My office is meeting with the mayors in my district. I've got 9 cities. I've got 2 Indian communities. I've met with both presidents of the Indian communities to problem solve. And one great example is in Mesa. As you may remember, in 2014, we had some pretty serious floods there. And now our flood control district in Maricopa County and the city of Mesa teamed up to say, how do we address this to make sure it does not happen again, and that we can prevent it from happening again. And we did that. We addressed some dollars. We utilized some strategic dollars from us and the federal government to go in and change the flow of water and change our flood control design. And the citizens were ecstatic about it, as they should be. But it's those simple things that can make a big difference. And of course, when you're a constituent or a resident of Maricopa County, I want the customer service you get to be no different than your favorite restaurant or dry cleaner or hotel, for that matter.
You know, our state legislature, you mentioned communication with the cities. I believe that our communication with Phoenix could become quite testy in the not too far distant future if they continue to move toward a sanctuary city with ID cards. They will come flush against a law that we passed in this last session of the legislature. So I guess we'll see what happens there, and I won't even look for your comment on that. I know that
sometimes it's tough love, right, Jay?
Oh, it's going to be tough. It's going to be a difficult moment hopefully in the life of the mayor. The dust permit application is a great example of cutting out red tape and you did a lot of that.
We did, and it was something that was simple. And as you know, in politics and government, common sense isn't always that common. And so I learned during my first campaign just 4 years ago from some developers and people who are creating jobs in our not only our county but our state, that on a regular basis, no matter how many homes they were building or how many remodels they were doing, that they had to go and fill out a 43-page dust permit each and every time. And it was timely, it was mundane, it was redundant. And so in our first 90 days, we culled that back. We eliminated all but 7 pages of the dust permit, and we made it available online. And there was a time where you couldn't even do transactions online with the county, and now you can with your credit card and everything else. So we're trying to get into the 21st century, which I believe we should have been in the 21st century some time ago. But I appreciate you bringing that up, because I was very, very gratified in my chief of staff and deputy chief of staff being able to pull that off, and of course with the planning and development department as well, so quickly. And we've gotten such positive feedback from constituents and developers alike that are grateful that they don't have to go through that arduous process each and every time. And now it can be all done online. They don't have to get in the car and drive it down to the county.
Aren't your board meetings available online now?
That's true. That's true. And that was another campaign promise and commitment, that we were going to be transparent in everything we did. And so you can see it online. We also have a record of past meetings as well. So there's an archived section of our website where you can go in and see past meetings, and they stream live when we actually have the meeting. So just yet another way we're trying to make sure we're reaching out to our constituency, especially those who can't travel downtown, but still have a very good interest in the business of Maricopa County.
Steve Chucri, you discussed the improved communications between various governments that activated partnerships for flood control and transportation projects, STEM programs. Can you talk a little bit about that, the STEM programs, libraries, various enhancements that you've done?
Yes, we're trying to be as cutting edge as the private sector in everything we do, and the STEM program is the way of the future, I think, for not only my kids but probably my grandkids and many of your listeners' kids as well. And that if we don't get into the core products of science and math and technology and all the other things that make, I think, commerce run today, we're going to be left out. And so we applied for some funding and through a grant process, and we received it, and we implemented that into some of the libraries in my district. And we also and worked with the Code Club folks, and we in our Gilbert Library are working with kids to teach them how to code at the youngest of ages, believe it or not. And they're just taking to it like you wouldn't believe. And so what my focus has been is, how do we get ahead? How do we make sure that we equip our young and talented and passionate kids with the tools they need to succeed? In the STEM program, again, through grant dollars, not tax dollars, through grant dollars, for the most part anyway, have really helped us inject that kind of ability and technology into our library system, and it's gotten off to a great start just in a matter of 2 years.
The years ahead, I know that you will be reelected. What are some of the things you have in mind for the future of Maricopa County?
Jay, you've heard me say this before, that when Amazon had 5-day delivery and then they went to 2-day delivery, and they didn't say, hey, look at us, we've done a great thing here and we're done. They then went to same-day delivery or 2-hour delivery. And so how do we pivot as a government? How do we put ourselves into a situation where we can only get better and better and better, and don't take success as a way of we've accomplished the job and it's a job well done? You look at the cell phones today versus the 1980s, right? They're night and day differences. And I believe we can do that in Maricopa County. So when I tell you about personnel reform, when I tell you about some of the other things that we have done to make us more nimble and more agile, we're getting there. We're looking to technology to save money in our departments, and we've got great employees in Maricopa County. We've got great department heads in Maricopa County that want to do things better, want to learn how to do things that we're not doing and implement them. So just the meetings on the website, just live streaming, as simple as they might be, they're actually huge successes. And so what I want to do is I want to continue those. This year alone, just 2 weeks ago, we heard that I believe we're going to get 57 NACO awards. That's the National Association of Counties. And I would argue we're probably the county that's getting the most out of the entire country. We're getting 57 NACO awards. One of them is the personnel reform we just talked about. And so while we trumpet that and we are excited about it, we're not letting any grass grow under our feet. So I want to continue to make sure that we're culling back those merit-protected employees and making sure we're incentivizing our employees to get more and more creative. And then I think we're going to get more granular in how we can focus on what spending is happening in the county. 52%, as you know, goes to the county attorney and the sheriff's office to keep our public safe. We're turning to technology called Smart Justice, to where we're doing arraignments of prisoners through teleconferencing between the judge and the prisoner. They don't even have to leave the complex. And that alone
we've hit the time limit, Mr. Chucri.
Sorry.
Steve Chucri, I thank you very much. I've so enjoyed our visit with you, and you and I will see each other frequently on the campaign trail. Good luck.
Thank you, Jake.
Thank you, sir, very much.